Hello everyone. Thank you so much once again for joining us. So in today's session, we'll be learning about storage and volumes in Docker. In our last session, we have learned about networking. So today we will focus on storage and volumes in Docker. So as you can see here, this is the repository where you can also refer with. This is available publicly. So let's get started. So first of all, let us understand what is storage, volumes, and file system in Docker. If you talk about the definitions or maybe in the high level, you can see in the realm of the containerized application, data persistence is paramount, right? So this guide delved into Docker storage and encompassing volumes and the container file system storage classes best practice and use cases equipping you to manage data effectively within your containerized app environment. So we all know, say for example, nowadays, whatever we till our last session, right? We have in fact right written the Docker file, and we build the Docker image, then we manage the Docker image, then we publish to the repository in the sense registry, right? We have like Docker Hub and then Azure Content Registry. So what we are going to do today here, whatever containers we are running till last session, right? The data, we have not discussed anything about data. How are we going to manage the data? That means when container is running state, that time data will be persisted. But let's say once the container stop, or maybe once the container got destroyed or maybe deleted, where is your data going to be stored? Or how can you secure the data? Is what we are going to learn today. Okay. So as you can see here, the first one we'll try to understand Docker volume. What is Docker volume? Docker volume is a special directory within container for persistent data storage, right? That means this is meant for the Docker volume mean for to store basically your data, right? Maybe container data or any data, right, within your containers. Independent of the container lifecycle, it allows data to persist even when containers are stopped or removed. That means we are clear. That means volume is nothing but it is a special directory within the container itself for storing your data storage. It could be any data. It could be your metadata, it could be your container related, or it could be your any kind of, right. So we will understand in details later. And then next is the storage. As name suggests, what is mean by storage in simple terms? Storage basically method and option for managing data storage, right? That means how you're going to manage your data is what we are going to understand, right? And this includes volumes, bind mounts, and storage drivers, providing flexibility and control over load data is stored and accessed within containers. So that means when we create the container, somewhere we need to store the what we call the data, right? So with the help of the storage here, maybe we can maybe plan well, okay, where we need to store and everything, right? So this can be managed, right? In a certain maybe locations in your maybe systems. But it will be not be within the it will not be the along with the containers. That means in not inside the containers, we can have a isolator from your container itself, this data. So we will understand this also. So if you see here now, flexibility, this is within the container means basically when we run the containers, basically how you're going to manage in the container level, within a container level. Okay, but when coming to the volume, let's say once we create the volumes itself separate components that is managed by Docker, so that whenever you want to, just like Azure, in Azure we have a data disk, right? So even when you create the VMs, the data disk is something that you attach separately. So there are the option like maybe even after deletion of the virtual machines, you can still uh, keep the data as it is in your store. I mean data, what do you call storage? I mean what not storage? As your data disk, right? Similar way, even volume data in Docker also has that capacity capability of storing. Okay. Now we have file system. The file system in Docker refers to the hierarchical structure for organizing files and directories within Docker containers. It is isolated from the host systems ensuring that changes made within containers do not affect the host Docker's file system, facilitates efficient management and isolation of containerized applications. So what we'll do, this you can take a look later when you get time. This basically given a little bit of definitions. Let's say Docker volume means it is recommended for persistent. We all know that. So basically, if you want to store your data for persistent is something to store permanently, right? So in this case, we can go with Docker volumes. So maybe you can take a look how it works also. Independent storage locations managed by Dockers, as I mentioned, and separate from container layers and the host file system. Container layers also we'll understand later. For now, yeah, okay, and the host system. Now these are the benefits when we talk about the what do you call volume, Docker volumes. Persistent, portability, scalability. Persistent in the sense, let's say data written to volume survives container restore, upgrades, or migration. Let's say if you have the data that is stored in your volume, basically Docker volume, that means even you if your container gets started, restarted, or maybe stop, or any migration happen also, you can still basically attach back to the certain container and access the data. And portability is something as name suggests, right? Volumes are not tied to the specific host, as I mentioned. It is not tied to the specific host, enhancing application portability across environment. So if you have particular data where you want to basically attach to a certain container also, that you can do so. And scalability, volumes can be shared and accessed by multiple containers, facilitating data exchange in multi-container setups. That means once you create a let's say volume name as a volume one, the same volume one can be shared across your containers. But when coming to the last sessions, whatever we have learned, not like that, right? Every single container, whatever you write within the container, once the container get destroyed or maybe deleted or maybe stop, your data is going to be lost. But here in today's topic, I mean here, it is not like the Docker volume. Here means even if you have a one Docker volume created and you have some data stored in your Docker volume, the same data can be shared across your containers. Okay, you can just take a look. These are some, this is not required for now. Like you can do some naming standard. This explain, let's say whenever you create a container name, you have to give some naming, clear naming, so that it will be easy. Let's say I can give something like the MySQL data app config for better organization. So you cannot give some random volume name. You just give desired volume name. Okay, and separate configuration, stored application configuration file outside volumes. That means if you have some other this thing, you have to store your application configurations file and all outside of a volume. Don't store there within the volumes, like container layers or configuration management tool. Now this is something regular backup. This also, if you want, you can do so. Can be, they can be a reason like you may get crash for any reason, right? We don't know, so it's better to take a backup as well. This is additional information thing. You don't need to think much about for now. You just focus on the benefit this one. Okay. Now let's go this thing. So Docker file system, that is ephemeral by default. Ephemeral is nothing but that is stored only the temporary, right, by default. Temporary means, as I mentioned, once the container stops, then you lost the data. So here we'll understand storage drivers. We have a different type of storage driver, software components that interact with the underlying storage system, that is a disk, let us hand or NAS, to create, manage, and optimize container, storage layer, and the volumes. So common drivers when coming to the like what you call this one, right? Docker volumes. Mostly we are going to use the overlay 2. That is a default one. Okay, and then storage class, this is basically in the Kubernetes. So as I mentioned, next sessions, next class we'll be talking about the Kubernetes, but on the high levels you can understand still. um, Applicable to Kubernetes environment, a way to define storage provisioning option with characteristics like performance, durability, and cost. So as I mentioned, basically in Kubernetes, there is a something called as a persistent volumes we have, and we have a persistent volume claim. So when it comes to persistent volume, defines a storage resource in cluster such as network volume that exists independently of any individual pod that use it. And persistent volume claim requires the specific size to access more for persistent volume pods use PBC's request to persistent storage. So in Kubernetes case, as I mentioned, we will not go dot details, but there are two things we need to understand. One is the persistent volume, and second is a claim. Second, volume basically we attach to the certain basically cluster in our case, as you can see here, right? So it is going to attach, and persistent volume claim is something. Let's say for each cluster, what will be the size that you needed for particular resource to be accessed or deployed? In the let's say um, you're going to deploy some applications, right? You may not use entire like data size or maybe the this thing. So what you need is depends on the application size or maybe requirement. You would create something called as a persistent volume claim. So they will request how much space you need for certain application to run and use it then based on that. So in order to that, this is basically a YAML format. You can see something like that. The first thing is the example persistent volume, or we can call it a short name as a PB in YAML, right? So that's how you can have to create. API, then sorry, API version as a B1, and the kind is a persistent volume, then metadata. What is metadata? We'll understand later. And what is a configuration? Let's say storage 1 GB requested, and what's the volume file systems? What is the access mode? What kind of access you want to give for this data? So they have a read and write once. So persistent volume claim policy written. So this all will understand. We have a different kind of persistent volume claim also. We have a written is there, and they have a default also. Okay, what is written also we'll understand as we learn the Kubernetes part. Then storage class name, whatever storage class name that you define, that you can define what is the host part, everything. Then second is a volumes done. Then persistent volume claim, basically like how much space you need. That means first what we do, first we will be creating a persistent volume. Second thing what we will do, we will claim it according to the requirement, how much space you need for your certain users. Okay, so we will define here. Let's see, as you can see here, right? So person volume claim, this my PBC, and I can give name, and what is the how much space you need, everything we can define it here. So we will talk more about this one. And even writing this script also, it is not a big deal, team. As I mentioned, it is a we have a so much tech, we have a technique that can help us write just like this, right? So example, if you want to write like this, as I told you yesterday also, so we have the extensions. We need to install the extensions, but I'm not going to demonstrate much now. But then I'm just going to give you some hint idea about that. So if you go to the extensions, right, there is a button called extensions, I think. Yeah. So if you go to the extension, you type the Kubernetes, because we are talking about the persistent volume claim and the persistent volume about the Kubernetes topic, right? So if you can see here, there is an option. I have already installed the extension in your BS Code, right? So once I do this thing, so just giving an example, let's say I want to create this one. What is the persistent value I want to create, right? So I can give this, as I mentioned, this basically in the YAML format, right? YAML syntax. So what I can do, I can simply go here, maybe let me type anyway. Let me just create one random folder over here so that I can type basically my commands there. Maybe let me give any name, say for example, PB persistent volume dot um, YML, because as I told you, this syntax are written this thing not in the YAML format, right? So as you type .YAML, as you can see, the extension basically got changed here. The icon, as you can see, right? Wherever you can see Terraform has a different. This is a YAML one. Let me enter. As you enter here, first thing what we want is we want to create persistent volume. So how can we create automatically, right? So but yes, you need to know the logic. Basically, the syntax are very important. How the YAML syntax are working, that also you should have some idea in the sense some fundamental knowledge you should have it, because it is not just about the writing the code but also understanding the logic behind of it, right? So let me give a overview of basically writing a small this one now. uh, as I mentioned, this is talking about the persistent volume. Now if you just type persistent volume, right, if you just type persistent volume, as you can see here, Kubernetes persistent volume. If you just type persistent volume, it will come. There is a claim also, right? So let me select this now. As you can select, boom. It's quite interesting, right? But then now see, whatever I have written here, almost, I can see, let's say, first thing is the API, second thing, kindness. Actually, whenever we talk about this thing, we will come back that later. We need to understand four things: API version, kind, metadata, and specs. These four things you're the measure, that is a pillar actually. Before specifying these three, four informations, you cannot write any Docker, whether it's Docker, this persistent volume or any YAML file in your Kubernetes. This thing, okay. So these four things we need to understand. That is API version, kind, metadata, specs. Specs is nothing but it is specification. So we'll talk that later, but just to give you idea, now whatever we have here, now you might be seeing here almost here. You see, right? Same almost. You can see the persistent volume claim, whatever name you given persistent volume name, and the amount options, and also there is a NFS part, everything. So you can see almost this thing, right? So this will give you some overview, means idea. Now, according to your requirement, maybe you can change it. But then you, that's what I mentioned. You need to know what exactly you're going to perform or work with, right? So similar way, if I had to basically do the second one, as I mentioned, since just like that, you can also within the same also, if you want, you can do so. It supports multiple this thing file, okay. Same way you can write also again same persistent, this time a claim, right? So or you can see here. Now you might be wondering, there is an error, why this error is coming, that you need to see. Now if you click here, the map must be a unique, because if you see here name is given same name, right? Now you have to change something something to basically when you map them, you should know how you're going to map them each other. Okay, so as I mentioned, let's not talk for now this one, because we have a separate session for this one. We will understand that in details for now, I mean later. So let's focus on our topic, that is the Docker volume. So as I mentioned, Docker volume basically is a way to basically store your data, right? Um, so that, as I say, these can be shared across your container as well. So let's get started. Maybe let me go through the demonstration. So first, what we are going to do, just like yesterday, a similar way, what we can do is, I'll close this one for now. I don't need for anymore. Um, Let me take you to here. Let me clear. As you can see, my screen is clear. Now, if I type here, if you remember yesterday, we typed it Docker volume, so Docker network ls list, right? So we were checking like this. This is about yesterday's topic. But today, just like that also, today we are going to learn, instead of the this thing, we are going to learn volume. Docker volume, right? So just type volume ls. Sorry, ls in the sense list. You can type ls also, maybe, I don't know, maybe it works. It should work, I think so. Yeah, ls also works. Okay, you can type ls also, Docker volume ls you can type, or Docker volume list you can type. Okay, both works fine. You can type ls or list, depends on your comfortable. Okay, now we understood now a tool is basically. What is this now? Whatever you see this one, right? This is all your Docker volume. And this is also another Docker volume. Let me delete this Docker volume. How can I delete a Docker volume? To delete a Docker volume, first Docker delete Docker this correspond. Mm, mm, mm. Okay, let's not delete then. Let it be. I will create new one with different name otherwise. Sorry, my bad. If you want to delete, you can delete. How can you delete? Let me delete first. If you want to delete, as I mentioned, you always try to use the help assistant. There is a option, right? Docker volume. If you type, there is a deleting also using delete option. Okay, let's say I will type here or rm option double dash help. Now you can see the what possible value I can define. Let's say I want to delete means if, let's say if I don't know the comments, I can see here, but mostly it will be delete option will come or rm. Now if you see here, yeah, we are using the move remove rm. We can use the rm commands. Okay, so like that you can see if you want to create the docker volume, we can use the create arguments for inspecting. Just like before, we can inspect. If you want to list, we can list it. If you want to prompt means remove unused local volumes. If it is not being used, we can remove use with the help of prompts. And rm means just as I mentioned to remove it. So how can I remove? As I mentioned, just type here volumes rm. Then as this is not being used anymore, I can just copy paste this one. I mean, copy paste means, yeah, I will copy and paste it. Now you can see, now it is removed. Now if I go back again, once again here, as I mentioned, you can see now it is not there, right? So now your existing, the Docker volume is removed. Now let us basically do from the scratch, I mean, to create new one, right? First, we'll try to create the new Docker volume so that we know what is happening in the background, right? Uh, as I mentioned, Docker volume something we need to put, then create the same thing we have seen also. Then this is name of the Docker volumes. Okay. Now if I type the same name or maybe different name, okay, let me type. Okay, let me copy paste the list. Okay, I will type same as it is, so that I can save time. That means I'm trying to create Docker volume with this name with the create argument. So if I enter here. Now, as you can see, it is got created. Now, if you want to confirm how it is created or not, I can type docker volume ls or list. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is the name that we have created right now, right? So now let us see. Let us see the configurations of particular Docker volume. Configuration in the sense I know it is created, but what is the basically I want to see more information about this container, right? Sorry, volume. Let us see. How can I see that one? Just like before, if you just now I shown, right? If you use a help, you can see the possible value, right? If there is an option, right? Inspect, display details information on one or more volume. So as I mentioned, I want to see the details about this particular volume. So I can use inspect just like yesterday we used, right? So docker volume inspect, yeah. Then copy the volume name. Okay. So now as you can see, so what we need to understand here, we need to understand basically the if you see a time like created when it is got created, and also what is a driver mean whether it is local, mostly yeah it is a local, and levels we have not having any levels, and a mount point. These two things are very important. These two things are very important. So first thing is that whenever, remember carefully, whenever you are actually creating the docker volume, this is the default par docker volume will be stored. That means this will be under var, under live, under docker, under volumes, under volumes itself, whatever name of the volume that you kept inside there, inside the data only, you all the data like volume data that you're going to store in the future can be stored here. The same data can be shared across the containers. Okay. So that means that's the first. Second thing is this is a volume name. That means if anybody asking you questions, whenever you are creating the Docker volume, what is the default location that Docker volume get created? Docker location mean the default location mean this is the location you mean. Till here I can tell under where under live under Docker then slash volumes. Okay. So if I want to see inside this one, I can check. I can check if you want to see. If you don't want to go inside also, I can ls space then slash, because I have to use the Linux commands right here bad. Then I have to type the liv leave, then docker, then volume, and then yeah under volumes maybe I can, yeah this is where I type. Now if I see here, now you can see your thing what you have it right. Now if you want to go inside also, you can go and check, not an issue, using cd commands. Instead of ls, you can type the cd, right? You can, this will take you now. Yeah, now if you see here, now the directory is changed now, right? Now inside the volume, now if you type ls now, you can see now same as it is. Now if you want to go inside also, you can see the cd, you can type this thing. Now as you type inside, you can have a one more name with this name and data. Now you can see if you go inside data, is what your data, all the data will be stored here. Sorry, underscore type. Now if you type here, now as you can see here, I don't have it because this is a empty volume we have created, right? But then we have checked it, how we can access it. Okay, now let me come back out of here. I think it's not working. Okay. Okay, anyway, so that's how we can check. Even if you're staying in the same location also, you can still run your Docker, not an issue. But still, I wanted to go back to my previous location, so that is why. I think, yeah. So if you type, even if you type in this directory also no issue, you can type, not an issue. But still, I don't want that to, I don't have any container running right now. So that's okay. So what we will do first, we have created a empty Docker, I mean volume. Next is, let us do one thing. Let us create one container, and this time I have this volume, right? If you remember, this volume I want to attach in the Linux system. That means I want to run the Linux based image basically. I want to run the container for Linux container basically, and I want to attach this one into the my systems. Okay, let me copy this one, everything. So what basically we are going to do is that I'm going to first run the Docker container with a D is nothing but it is a DTAS mode. This is the name of the container, in my case web server, and B is nothing but if you see the argument as um, hyphen hyphen V, right? V is nothing but volume. That means I want to attach the volume. This is the name of the volume that I created, and I want to map them, or I want to mount them where I don't. So I want to mount them under slash app slash data. I want to mount them there for Linux system. And for now, I can remove the infinity. Sleep infinity, I will talk later. Okay, let me change. Now, if I do here, that means now I'm going to run this thing. What happens here? Let me run now. If I do ps, it is showing not running, but then it is showing as created. But if you see now, why it is actually, if you see the code number 0, there's no issue. But then this is the name that we have created, right? If you see here, where is that? Here. So it's good. But then the exit code is 0. That means no issue. But it got created 11 seconds ago, and as you can see, this created around this many ago, like 13 seconds ago. So the reason why this particular container was created, why still showing as not running, it is created and exited. Sometimes there can be a reason, like some this thing, it will not support this thing, so it will be it will execute and stop the containers. Okay, this is the reason why. What we can do is, anytime whenever you want to basically run in the background also, along with you want to access that one. So as I told you, this right now it is a stop state. If you start also, let's say docker start, if you type this name also, container name also, let's see. If you type again ps, now you see it is either it works once, okay, it just start and then it automatically stops some this thing. So in this case, so what we can do is you can see the status, no issue, there's nothing issue. So that is the reason why we can use this option, that is the sleep infinity. That means this will be in the sleep mode in the back, basically Okay, this will running in the background basically. So that's what we want to do. If any time whenever you face the issue, you try to use this one. Even I was not aware before, then later I realized it. Then I was going through some documents and I got to know this one. Okay, so try to use this one also, so that if you use this one, um, let me run one more, but this time I will have to change the container name, of course. Sorry, my bad. uh, if you remember yesterday MySQL also we had a similar issue, right? So we should have given that one. So in my case, yeah, same thing I'm going to run, but I'm going to run this time. I will change the name as a web server, let's say 100. Remember, web server 100, it is going to be running now without an issue, because I use the argument as a slave and the infinity. Now if I type, now you can see it is created. Now if I type the again the docker ps commands, now as you can see here, this container, whatever name that I have given, now it is running, right? 5 seconds, 6 seconds ago. And the commands I run is a sleep infinity, right? So that means it is right now running because of these commands, arguments you have set. So now we are good now. That means now what we have done here, we are trying to create the containers in the details mode, and the name of the container is this one, and I'm going to attach the volume, that is using the b arguments, and this is the name of our volumes, and where I'm going to attach inside the Linux system. Inside the Linux systems, I want to attach this particular location, that is a slash app slash data I want to attach in the Ubuntu system, right? So how can we verify that one? Before we verify that, let us also see one more thing. Let me copy this one. Let us see first inspect docker inspect, just like before yesterday. Let me run. So that means I want to inspect first what configurations we can see when we use docker volumes for a particular container, right? Let me run. It is a big one, sometimes it's confusing. Anyways, so as you can see, this basically the your container, your basically id, and then this is the created date, and the command we run is a sleep, and the argument we given as a what is it, infinity. And if you see the state right now, this container is running as it is true, and running, yes, it is running. And pause, no, it is not given any pause. And restarting, no, we have not said any restarting things. Kill mean whether any issue or not, they will get. If it is a date mean whether if there is anything stop or anything like that, you can get something information. PID means this is a host process ID, that one, this is the process ID. Exit code 0, that means it's not no issue. An error, nothing. So this is good. Now coming to here, this is the image thing part, you can see the host. Now if you take a look closely, you can see the option here, so where the host part, basic host name part, also location is slash where slash sleep slash docker, this is where, then slash container, here the container name and the host name, this is where you store the host part, host name part. Same thing for the host, similar way you can see here. Okay, and then this is for the log part. Log part also location in the same under the containers. Then this is the name of our container name, and then we have a driver, as I mentioned, for the what do you call Docker volumes. We use a overlay one, overlay two. Okay, and the platform, as we all know, this is a Linux, this is Ubuntu, right? So this is a Linux one. So mount level, no, we have not shared. So we have nothing to explain here about. But if you come down, host config is what we need to understand. There's something called the bind. So they will bind it right with your particular containers. So name of R, this is the thing. We are binding what? We are binding our volume. This is the name of the volume to where? To these locations. Okay, this is a source. This is a destination. That means from here they will mount here, this location. That is why you see the column there. And here nothing much. Yeah, if you see the here also, as we all know, right, we are using a bridge network here, and port binding we have not used anything, and we don't have any maximum retry count. Maximum retry counts is nothing but if container fails, how many times they can try to restart the container. All right, now we are good here. Let me calm down if I can explain something here. I think nothing much, but yeah, let me see. Mm, okay, yeah, you can see here. Name is given as overlay 2 is what I explained. This is the type in as we mentioned. This is a volume. We are using Docker volume. So volume types of volume. This is the name of the volume, and this is the source location. Source location mean your location under where under lib under Docker volumes under here is what you have data, right? This is the reason why I was showing you before, right? This is the location. Whenever you create Docker volume, it is created in these locations. So underscore data only, you are going to store all your data. Okay. So that means you are mounting it into this particular destination. Now then destination means where this is going to be maybe mounted. This is the location slash app slash data. And then nothing much here. This is basically a read and write permission. Basically permission, read and write permission through. Read mean they can modify. Here also this is a host config. This is basically the host name of the container base. This is a container name. Okay, this is the container name actually. Container name in the sense ID basically. Now we have the user. We don't have much here. This is all default one. Yeah, this is the image that we are going to use. We are going to use a command as a sleeve and infinity, and then image we are using Ubuntu volumes. Now we don't understand this working directory. This is some of the default one. Okay, we don't need to think much about for now. Yeah, that is the high level we need to think. Now, so we have understood, right, what details we can see in the net under this one. That is the container web app server 100. Now we have seen this one information. Now let us also see where can I see this container now. Means I have to check inside the container. I have to log in. Before login, do one thing. I will try to create one more what I call container. One more container I'm going to create. The reason why I want to create one more containers, because as I mentioned, container, I mean the volume, Docker volume, right? That can be shared across the container. If I'm not wrong, I have told, right? So it is discussed also. So that means if I same container, like same Docker volume can be used across container, right? So in order to do that, so what we will do, I will try to basically create one what I call server, Nginx server. Maybe this time, what I'll do, I think I will copy the same comments here, but I will try to modify here. Let me try to modify. I have created already the Ubuntu this thing containers. Let me. Oh shit. Um, so what I need to change? I don't need this one. I don't need here. Here. Here this time. So what I'll do, this name also I will have to change. I cannot use the same name. It will be as engine X, right? Name I'll keep as a engine X server 100, let's say in my case. Okay, engine X server 100 I created. This is a volume, same volume I'm going to attach it. But this time a volume means basically I want to attach not into these locations. This is the mount location basically. This is the data basically you are storing here. Where you're going to mount the data, we are going to change here. So in my case, what we are going to do, I'm going to use under user. We have a nginx, right, location part for the HTML where it is stored. So under user, you can type usr user under share, right? Under share, we have something called as the nginx. That is where your nginx is stored basically. Now if I type nginx, I think spelling is okay. Slash, we have something called as a html. Correct me if spelling is wrong. Okay, html, this is where basically you are going to store. In my case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to expose the port also, because nginx I need to access, right, so that I can compare it and see. So nginx is use the port exposing, because we are using a bridge network. So if So for bridge network, we need to expose the port, right? So maybe I can give any port name. Maybe let's give it. Shall I give? Okay, let me give 8000 10. Let's say 50. I'll give. Okay, this is just a random name I'm giving it. So now I will map them with my container name. As we know, container listens on, sorry, Nginx listens on port 80. So I would have to define a port 80. That is a container name, container port, then name of the container. That is a Nginx base image basically, right? Nginx. That means what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run the new container with the container name as a Nginx server 100, and I'm going to mount using the dash b. I mean, yeah, hyphen. I mean, hyphen b is volume, and then attaching this volume to my this particular in the Nginx locations where it is stored. This is the default location here. That means whatever you're changing inside the this particular HTML, there is something called as the index dot index count. There is an index dot this thing, right? HTML we have, so we can change that one and see that one. Then we are going to expose this one with the, sorry, spelling is wrong. It's not the one p. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Now I'm going to run this thing. So as you can see right now, currently we have created two containers. One is a Ubuntu base, that is a web server. Second is an Nginx server. Now, as you can see here, one is this is the second one. I mean, first one. This is the just now we created. That means this is also running, but this is mapped with the particular port number. Now, that means both the servers also using this thing. Now, if you go here, I want to just see, let's say, Docker inspect. Now, same thing also, you can see the same configuration just like how I showed the for the Ubuntu, right? Um, Let me come up. Yeah, I can see this one. Same as it is. But only thing is that one thing if you notice here, for Nginx, location is changed because while mounting, I'm trying to say to serve the Nginx from in this particular location to map it. That means in this under HTML, we have the folder right in the Nginx this thing image, so that to map them here this particular volume. But when coming to the Ubuntu slash app slash data, right? So this is changed. That's different. But then still, as I mentioned, as long as your volume is available, this can be attached to any of the container is what we mentioned. So let us see now. That means now let us now see, we can log in one of the server. I mean, not server, container. Let me log into the Nginx server first. Okay, not Nginx. Let me try to log in first this thing, maybe because I want to modify something. Let me log into the first server that is here. Login in the sense, it is not, I would not say server, it is a container basically. Let me log into the container. I mean to say inside a container, I will log in. How can I do that? Docker. What is the command? Can you someone tell exact? IT, the name of the container, then name of the container. Okay. Then I can see there are many ways. If without login to the container also we can check it. Let's say if I want to check without login to the container, we can use the ls. Basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say go inside this particular container and you list it. What are you going to list? For this one, where our data is stored? Our data is stored inside where? Inside uh, something f, right? Something I think it is f slash data. Is it correct spelling? Okay, we cannot listen. We don't have, okay, we don't have, of course we don't have anything right now. Let's say, let me go inside better. Okay, let me go inside first. Because right now we don't have this empty volume we have, that is why not showing. Let me go inside this thing. Now as you see here, something I'm typing wrong, maybe let me check. uh, what is your docker exec? What did I type wrong? Let me check. Exact only, correct only. No, it's same correct only. Why is showing not showing this? Okay, let me check whether it's running first. Okay, this is running only. 1 second, let me try. I will try to come and run 1 second. Docker exec. Spelling is correct, I think. Exec dash it, then container name, then bash. Sorry, bash. Yeah, now I don't know what happened. Something mistake maybe I might have done the spelling, or maybe I don't know. Okay, anyways, so now as you can see, I am inside a container. Which container now? If you see here, I have login here this container, right? This ID, if you check the ID, right? This is the ID. It is right. F1 last number. So I am now inside the container. If you see here, this container. Okay, I'm inside this container now. Now this is the reason why I can see this container ID. Now what I have to do next? Now inside the containers, what I can do, if you want to try to ls, if you remember under container, what we have something called as a uh, where we are mounted. We have mount under app, right? So if you type now /app cd, there is a, you can type ls. I have already typed it already. So if you type cd app, because under /app only be mounted, right, our data. Under app we have data. So if you go inside now ls, if you do, this is what we have in this thing. Now let me maybe uh, take this one. Now if you open this one, I want to see like this context. What is the context, right? Under html. But if you see, this is under where, this is under store in the data. Now if you copy this one, copy, and I want to just check it. So if you see here, from where it is get, yeah, I can see engine. Welcome to nginx, right? We have this nginx things like that. That means we is there. That means data is there. Now let me type something, right? Maybe let me just type ls. Right now I'm inside data. um okay, now it is mounted now. So now we can see the whatever we have. Now if you want to run some other commands also, we can run the commands. Now if you maybe want to run something, maybe let me type something as touch, or I can use echo. I first apt apt install, sorry, update. I'll do first. I will first update it because I will have to modify something later. Okay, let me update my containers. Then maybe I'll try to run some comments as well. Okay, now it is done. Now if I type the apts I have updated, now let's say if I want to install something, I can install here. Maybe install. Before installing, let me create one file called as a using bi editor. I in the same directory, that is a data directory. Let me say as a devops.txt. Sorry, txt. Okay, this is basically I'm saying. Now it is showing now. I'm trying to run the beam commands to create one with this name full file, but it is showing as a it is not there because this need to be installed. So let me install this beam first. How to install? You can type as apt, because it is a ubuntu apt install. I can type to install the beam. You can google it, otherwise you, if you know, it's okay, you can type a bim. It should be fine. Beam means it will be beam editor. Okay, now I can type dash I, oh sorry, y, to basically continue. That means now I'm trying to run now these commands. Basically now the beam editor is going to be installed for you. Same thing for nano. If you want to install that is separate tools basically, right, that is available in linux, so you can install them manually. So now okay, it is asking me area, which area right now. I'm in the Maybe we can select as Asia, that is a 5. Let me enter. What is a June? June time zone is a Kolkata, so it will be 44, right? So let me enter. Okay, now your the it is got installed. Now if you go back to, let me first clear the screen first, right? Let me clear the screen. um yeah, if you type here this one, okay, let me type one second, bi DevOps dot txt. Okay, now you should be fine. Now you can type anything. This is one way of basically writing this thing. Basically, while creations of the file, also you can write it. Let's say I can go insert mode using I. You can type this is test from Ubuntu web server. Web server. This is from the web server we are access, right? I can mention Ubuntu. Ubuntu. Let's say I want to. Okay, let me exit using colon. Then write, quit, execute. Now you can come back. Now if you type the cat, then if you type the DevOps, whatever written, you can see this is a one way of doing it. Second way also, if you want to basically write, you can maybe try echo comments. Echo, you can pass the message that you want to type. This is another one from same thing, right? Maybe DevOps pulse, something like that. Let's say I want to pass this thing. If you want to pass a greater sign, then where you want to pass them, you can type. Let's say test.txt, anything that you can give name txt, or you don't need to give this extension. It's just a sec of this thing, understanding. You can give anything that you want. If it is a HTML, you can give HTML, any other. Okay, so once you give this thing also, this will be without writing, going inside this thing, you can pass the message like this. Now if I type the ls, that means you can see I have two files. One is a DevOps txt, second is a test, and this is the default one, right? This is already default one. Now that means if you see here, this is under the container. That is a Ubuntu container, that is a web app, right? Now let me execute from here. Sorry, spelling is wrong, maybe. Exit. Okay, I have exited. Now if I do docker ps, now what we did till now, we have basically created some file. Now if I do a ls, sorry, not ls, ps, you can see two content. Now let me go here, because now nginx is something this same the volume here, right? So I need to check here also. Now let me log in inside a container. Now container, if you want to log in again, same just like before, docker exec it, then container name, I have to pass the bash. So let me go inside. Now as you can see, this is the id change. Now start n ends with d0. Now if you see here, it's d0, right? So you can see same. So I'm inside this container now. Now if I type here any commands, it will not work because it is a different containers, right? Now let me go first inside this container. Now I can type ls, sorry, ls. ls means, if you remember, where is our the what I call the mounted, basically where this particular is mounted. If you remember, right? We don't remember, right? So if you remember, you can go. Otherwise, you can go here, this particular here, using the commands, that is your inspect. Then you can get where exactly you map your mount docker volume. You can check that one. In my case, I know where I have mounted, so I can check that one. So first, what I can do, I can go cd if you want, then slash. It will be, I think, user, if I'm not wrong. Then it will be under share. Then under, I think, nginx. Then under HTML, I think so. Let me check. Now, can you see here? This one I have not created. This is a different container, as I told you. as I told you, I have mapped it right into the Linux also. Now you can see the same file, DevOps, and this also is there, right? That means now you can see. Now if I try to check the cat, this one, as I told you, this is created in another system, but this is shared across your container. Now you can see this is same message that I have written in the different container. Okay. Now the same thing. Now let me change. If I want to modify this container also, I can modify. Let's say I want to modify this engine X. Let me modify this engine X. If I do the BI editor or maybe any editor, I can get an error because same thing, the container is not installed the BI editor. So let me install this also. I first need to do apt install, sorry, not install, update first I need to do. Otherwise it will fail, right? So now you understood, right? So this volume, now it is shared across your container itself. Even if container stops, you can still access the volumes. Okay, now as you can see right now, I have installed it. I mean, I have I need to install engine, sorry, not any HTML, sorry, what is a beam, YM. Let me install this editor. Otherwise you can install the nano, and depends on your compatibility, you can use either one. Okay, now, okay, now beam is installed. Now if you type now same comments before, now you can see. Now this is where this is still in your this thing system, right? Now whatever you want to modify, you can do modify. Okay, now let me share, let me modify something, let's say let me go inside, let me go anything, yeah, like you can type anything that you wish to. Maybe if you want to type something, I can type here. Okay, so you can type anything that you wish. In my case, you can type same, maybe H1, you can have a head H1, then you can message this is from let's say Nginx, because Nginx changes, just to make you understand. Okay, now same line I'm saying it. Now inside here, what we have is basically we need to define which one again. Okay, now the syntax is correct. This is from Nginx, so I have modified this is happening from the Nginx side container basically. Now let me execute. I'm gonna saved it. Okay, I'm good here. Till now I'm good here. So what I want next is, okay, next let me execute. Now if I type here cat nginx, sorry, or append, let me check. Okay, I'm not inside, I'm inside this thing, right? I have to type index.html, right? I can type cat. So whatever modification that you have done, I think summary, yeah, this one, right? So it is there. So now let me save this one. I mean, it is already saved. Let me execute. I mean, exit from here. Now we understood, right? So we are saving now. Changes is happening. Exit. Okay, I have exited. Now we know. Now same thing. Booter, now if you want to access these applications, you can access it. How can I access? You can use a curl. Uh, First, let us see what is the port we are using for the Nginx. Let's say Docker PS. I can see this Nginx using the port 800, sorry, 8050. So I can use a curl local port, sorry, local host, not port. Then I have to map, define my local port name, that is 8050. As you type here, where is 50? Yeah, 50. Now you can see whatever changes that you have made here also. Same thing, you can check it. Maybe, sorry, not here. This one I mean to say. You can copy this one instead of curl. Even if you go to the web browser, you can explore. I mean, you can see this one, right? You can see here. So this is from the Nginx because this is coming big changes because this is be given as a heading H, if you remember in your code. This is why it is big. Okay, now we have understood. Same way, now let's say if I do changes in the another container also, still I can, it will be reflected here also. Just I will do fataphata, I'll finish. So if you go to the web server again, right? Web server I can go. Otherwise, if you don't go to web server also, if you change within the web server, sorry, container also, out of container also we can do. Let's say what I want is I will directly go cd. What is the location? I don't remember now. Okay, let me see which container store. Underwear. Okay, underwear, right? So cd slash underwear under live under we have here, I think Docker side. Yeah, Docker. Under here we have the volumes. This is where we have the volumes created locally, right? Now, if you go inside ls, now this is the name that we have. Right now, if you go inside, this is basically not inside the container. I'm outside the container now, but I'm inside. I'm going to the volume, directly to the volume, not inside the container. Now, if you go here, let me copy this also. Now, if I type ls, I can see data. As I told you, under volume we have this one. Under here is whatever the Nginx related the whatever we have modified or updated data, right, in the container level, those will be updated in this location. That means, as you can see, this is separately isolated, not with the container. It is isolated from the container. Now, even the container stops also, you can still be able to access your data. So if I go here, maybe let's see again. Now if I do ls, now you can see this also there, DevOps also is there, this also is there, this also is there. Now if you type index that we have modified, maybe you can check this also. If you use a cat, whatever we have modified in the container level, that you can still see here. If you see here, right, changes, this also be made. Apart from this one, we had others also, right? So whatever is there, we are able to see. Now do one thing now. From the container level also, let me change now. Sorry, here itself. If I want, I can modify here also, as I told. Now, if I type the vi, let's say index x, if I want to modify here something, now let's say I want to modify something again here in the same line. Let me go insert mode. From you can mention as a Docker Docker volume, Docker. Anything you can mention is just okay. So let's say if I mentioned here, now this extra changes also we are doing is this is done from the directly from the system volume itself, Docker volume. Basically where we created this thing, okay, changes. Now let me save this also. Let me write execute. Okay. Now let me also create one more file. I will use a touch command this time. I want to create plain text, no content, but plain text. Maybe I can say something from, I can mention as a, maybe Hriyen. My name I can mention Hriyen dot yml. Example, nothing is there in the content, but just a empty file. Okay, now if I see ls, now you can see this Hriyen .yml also, right? So same thing now, if you go to the container first thing, this will be changed now because we have updated the changes also from different locations, not within the same container, but then different. If you can see here, right? So now you understood. So that means you now now you're able to understand that how we can replicate this one. So that is how we can store secure our data also across your environment. or maybe containers. Now whatever I have modified, I have not modified in the container level, rather I have modified in the Docker volume where I have created. Within that itself I have modified it. That is the reason why you can see the changes also now. Apart from this one, what other changes that I made in the Hriyen.yaml, if you want to see that also, because that is just a text, right? It's not a HTML. So if you want to check that also, if you stay in the same location also, no matter, as long as you are going log into the container, so you can check. How can I check that one? Maybe you can use you can log in one of the container. Let's say I will try to log in as container. Let me take one container name. Let me log into the Nginx maybe. Basically, I will not log in inside, but then I think this is okay because this location part is, I think this is also okay. Sometime the location part need to be defined properly. So I can type docker exec. If you don't want to log in inside the container, I'm saying, but then you still want to see the content of the inside the container, okay, with your login. So we can use a docker exec, then the IT, then you can mention the here. This is what normally we do, and we can use the ls to list it out. And as we are defining this thing now, where is our data map? Basically the core volume where we have mapped it. We have mapped it under I think where is that, under something we mapped, right? Under user, correct, under user we mapped it, under user, under something image something, I forgot the part. Okay, let me check, otherwise we can go directly, otherwise no problem, because if you don't remember the part, it's okay. So I'm sorry, my bad. Let me go inside. I'm inside a container now. If I type ls, now you can see I'm inside. Okay, inside user, I can go cd /cd /user, and then I can enter. Still I don't know where exactly the location, right? So maybe you can search that way also. Okay, under share. Okay, that is really under share. So under share, then we have a nginx. Okay, that is a thing. So you can log in directly inside, or you can, so I can directly go now share. Then we have under share. If you know the location, you can type then nginx, right? Nginx, under nginx we have a html, that is the location, that. So let me go inside now. If you type here, this is the one .yaml that I created from the, not the content within a container, but outside the container I created. Now this is empty one, but then you can still see the changes. Okay, that's how we can see the changes now. Okay, now we have understood how the data has been replicated. Now let us stop the container. I will stop all the container. Let's see to how to stop the container. Let me execute first. I think I'm not, yeah, let me exit from here. That means you saw now changes, right? Now let me stop the container, boot the containers, and same the volume I want to use it when I create new container basically. So let's do that. So I will first check the running container, this thing. So how can I stop the container? If I, even if I use the a, including the stop one, this many I have, total 3 I have. Let's do one thing. Let me stop everything. How to stop? Docker stop dash f, because forcefully normally what we can do, it can stop together also, because with this running together, right? Copy this name, docker stop, copy this name. Second also you copy the second name. Okay, you can do this also. You can stop. Otherwise, if you want to forcefully delete the container also without stopping also, you can do. But in my case, I want to stop and delete it. Okay. Right now you can see there are 2 containers that I have defined. That means 2 containers are going to be stopped. So first it is going to stop. Yeah, now stop. If you type the docker ps, now no docker will be running, as you can see here, nothing to run now. But if you type with the ls, sorry, a, it will be stop state. If you can start, right? This is all Ubuntu everything. Now how can I remove everything? That means all the stop container, if I don't need, how can I remove? there is a different way of removing it, right? If you want to remove the container, stops container, how to remove it? Like let's say I have not only particular, let's say I want to remove all stop container. How can I do that? So there is a command called docker. If you remember, in our last session, prawns we have docker prawns we have, remember? Let me show you. I think day one, right? Day one or day two? Let me check. There is a docker prawns. Okay, we can use the prawns commands. I think I should not mention. Yeah, I think somewhere here mention. Yeah, if you see here, we can use this commands prawn. Okay, remove all stop containers, dangling, and this everything. If you want to remove everything, we can use a system. But if you want to remove only the image, you can just use a docker container, then prawn you can define. If you want to stop only the container specific, system means everything. Container mean only the stop container. So let's do that. How can I do that? So as I mentioned, docker container, um, or you can directly the prawn you can do prun prawn here. What is this asking? Wording, this will remove all stop containers, as I told you, because I have explicitly defined to delete all the stop container. So if I mention yes, I can do. That's in my case I want to mention as no. But if you want to do without any this thing like yes or no, I can directly use a y, right? So that automatically it will delete it without any warning sign, right? So maybe there's some mistake. Docker prawns, I don't know why it's coming. Why? Okay, I don't need to do this thing. Why? Oh no, I can remove this thing then. Something I don't know why. Okay, why maybe small, capital Y, I don't know. Okay, so basically what we are going to do now, if you see here, we have given there are three containers, stop containers we have. So we have this many space got cleaned up, and this many containers stop container we have deleted. Now, if you check docker ps all also you do not see because this is to check including the stop container. Same thing if you type or list also nothing is there. That means right now there is no container running. Now if you try to refresh this page also, this will not work because it is deleted, right? So it is deleted, of course. So that is the thing. All right, now what we will do this time, we will try to create new container and attach the same volume. Okay, before that let me show the volume first. Volume, if you see here, I'm inside the volume, right? Same thing if I type ls, same thing I can see whatever I have the data, let's say DevOps, Hriyen, and whatever I have, because this is separately isolated and stored in these particular locations, right? So you're not losing any data. So how can we now make use of the same data when we create a new container is what we are going to learn now. Okay. Okay, so whatever I have written the data, same thing, it will be available. So in order to do again same thing just like before, we have to run the same commands. So if you go here, docker volume, if you see here, same thing, where is that? Okay, here, right? Same thing we can copy paste, but this time I will not use the engine Ubuntu. Let me only run one container. I mean one container this time. So okay, so this time only one container, but I don't want to use this Linux. I want to use Ubuntu, sorry, Nginx, Nginx. Okay, but this time, as we all know, our data stored where in Nginx, it will be this volume. I have to mount under share, right? Under share, then under share, we have a Nginx. Okay, slash under we have HTML, HTML. Okay, under here, this is the default location for the Nginx. So this is the reason why I want to mount the data whatever I have this data, right, whatever I have within this one, including index and everything, I want to mount in these particular locations in the nginx this thing container. Now if I enter this thing, okay, let me also maybe expose the port also, because I can access it. So that let me run p, and this time I can use any port. As I mentioned, let me use the 80 this time. It is a local port, and the container port is 80, same thing, 80 80. Now if I type enter, now containers got created, new container, um, with this name, web server. I should be changing the name, that's okay. This is the container name anyway. So if I do a ps, now you can see this is the web server container for the nginx. If you see here, got created. Now if you want to access this thing, as I mentioned, you can just change the port number, that is be given as a port 80. Rest all remains same. Now if you change the port 80, because we are not changing the, we are using the existing volume, right? So nothing like that, that's it, 80. If you see here, let me see, maybe okay, let me check inside, let me go inside, maybe it's map containers, let me go docker, what is it, exec, right, exec, then it, I can try it means then container name, I hope I'm typing the right name. Now I'm inside. Now as I told, this is the location under user, under share, under, sorry, share under nginx, under html. Okay, under html we have, this is the location we have. Now if I type here ls, now you can see the things are there. Only this thing, the nginx now, because this nginx, as I told you, the data what you have, this thing, this is the application data, right? This is basically the apart from this thing you have given something, no, this is there in the inside the nginx container right now. So because we have attached the particular volumes. Now if you go inside here, why it is not showing? Because if you type inside bi, maybe let me first install apt, oh, let me type cat otherwise directly. Okay, now if you see here, this is the one that we are using it in nginx, the same one, old one. Yeah, so that's how we can check it. Now here, maybe let me just switch to the page. This is taking the this thing, but then you can see here, right, changes whatever this thing, maybe it takes some time, but yeah, you can see here the changes that making, taking the same as the old this thing nginx. Okay, so if you want to use same thing across your environment, even after stopping also, we can make use of for this like this. Now if you type the ls again, maybe we can check, sorry, where I am. Okay, ls nginx DevOps html. Like if you're trying to see others also, as I mentioned, everything whatever we have basically, you can be able to see here. Okay, that is a thing, but here maybe it's taking some time to get reflect. The port is mapped properly, I hope so. Let me check the port. Okay, let me come out of this one first. Let me type again docker ps, this is the port 80. Port 80 is correct only. Maybe it takes the default port, that is the reason I would have given some other port name. Anyway, so maybe do one thing, let me type here local, here also come local start 80. Yeah, maybe okay, it is taken from the cache theme. Okay, you can see here whatever I have typed it, you can see here. This is from the everything's come. Maybe I think so. This is why not coming is it is taken from the cache. That is why it's not showing. Maybe let me open in different browser in incognito mode, right? So maybe local host and we given port as a ET, right? Yeah, you can see. So that is a thing. So it should work as expected. So maybe when we try to do, it is taking the default because of the cache. So now you can see we are using from the volume itself, whatever the engine existed. Same like that. If you have data, we can persist like that. Okay. Now that is the thing. I think then what else we are good here. Apart from what we can do, yeah, you can, as I told you, you can stop and start container. Even if you stop the container, let's say if I want to stop the container also, in my case, yes, Mani, please go ahead.
Hriyen, actually, I missed some part actually due to some other reason.
Okay,
Can
okay,
you
please.
just quickly brief about what you executed, Hriyen? Like what
Okay,
we achieved through hosting, and then there was some change made in that web file front end, I guess.
okay, yeah, sure.
You made the change in volume, or I don't
Yeah,
get that part actually.
okay, so I will go till the Docker, well, till the Docker container stop and delete. You're able to understand, right?
Yeah. You
Okay,
stopped the Docker
yeah.
deleted. Yeah.
Yeah, so once we stop the Docker container and also be deleted the Docker container, right? So once it is deleted, what we are trying to perform is, if you see this location, right? This is the Docker volume locations, right? This is where our data is stored. If you see here, ls, this is where normally we store. As I told you, this is an isolated storage. That means it is not what it says. It is not along with your container. This is separate resource that is managed by Docker. So this particular container, whatever data we have inside this volume, this is the data as you can see here, right? This available. Now let's say once the Docker stop and deleted, now normally your data will be lost, right? So in this case, yeah, I think some issue network. Okay,
Very good.
okay.
Network breakdown.
Yeah, so I was saying this is the, as we all know, this is the Docker container. So whenever we create a Docker volume, this is the default location under where, under live, under Docker slash volume slash name of the volume, and here we have a underscore data. This is where all our volume data, this data will be stored here. In my case, we have already check out here, or we are inside this volume. Now if you list it, you can see this when data available. This is inside the volume, not the container, right? Now as I told you, this data volume can be shared across your container. Also, even if you, let's say, if you're running new container, you can use it. If you stop the container also, still you are not going to lose the any data. So that is the reason why we want to test it. We deleted the container stop and container deleted, right? So after deletion of the container, what we did was we tried to create new container. So if you see here, then we try to create new container with this name, and this time also same volume that we created already before, same volume we have used it. This my case nginx, we are using it image as nginx. So I'm trying to expose the port 80. This is okay, this just like before. So this time also, if you remember, I have attached the old volume, right? So inside the old volume, whatever data I have it for the nginx, they should be able to access. This is the reason why I ran I executed this command. Once I executed, what happens if I use a ps? Now this particular server, it is up and running. That means server in the sense container basically. This is up and running, and this time if you see the port, I have mapped 80 port. And the image, basically the nginx image, we have this thing, right? The, well, this page, this nginx image, I think not here, I think where is there? Yeah, this nginx image we have it, right? What happened? Yeah, this nginx image, this was the old one, right? Same thing I want to use, because I was using the old volumes, I should be able to access the same volumes data, because I have mounted into my new container as well. This is the reason why what I did was I went to the this particular container. First I want to check. I went to container using docker exec, because I want this is new container, right? Exec it mean interactive mode, and then I will type the container name, and I can type the ls, sorry, bash. This one way I can do it. That means to check inside this location whether I can see the changes, I mean the volume I can see or not. The second, if you don't want to do that, as I told you, there is another one, ls. You can type as a maybe user, sorry, user, then nginx. This is the location we mapped it, nginx slash maybe html, nginx share. Okay, nginx share nginx. Then we have the html. This is the directory that we have mounted, right? So html, this is the mounted we have. Now if you list it, that means I should be able to see whatever changes is there inside the container also, because I'm trying to execute in the container level. Now I should be able to see the same container. Now if you see here, this is the reason why I say we can see now everything. That means with a login to the container itself, but then you can check out here with these arguments, you can list it. Even if you want to see nginx with a login to the container, what you can do is, as you know the container, this thing, right? Or maybe we can use a cat here. I don't want to log in, man. That means, so I can type inside HTML what we have. I want to see this index, right? You can type this index. Index, I don't know. Let me index dot HTML. Let's see if that works. Yeah, you can see like that. So whatever is there, if you see here, this is from the Docker volume. So whatever I had a old the Docker volume, same thing I can access it into my new listing. But this time I have not directly log into the container itself. Rather, I have just check inside the container with some arguments. I'm trying to see the context. Sorry, not this one. Maybe, yeah, this one, right? This one. You understood, right? This one. Now you can see. Or maybe if you want to see directly that, then it's okay. You can go. That's simple. What you do, the bash, go inside. Bash you use, that's it. You are inside a container now. You can see now you are inside container. Now same thing, you go to the particular locations if you want. Let's say we have a user, under user we have a sorry, user share. Then under here we have a nginx. Under nginx we have a html. If you type here, you can see the same thing, whatever is here. But this time I'm checking directly inside the container itself. This is what we are trying to do. Now same thing as I told you, this time this particular nginx is using my old nginx this thing, no, index.html. This is the reason why whatever I have the old nginx index.html, I can access it here, because this time I use a port 80. If you remember, I can still check that. Let me exit docker ps. If you see here, what happened? Docker ps. If you see here, this particular web app is using a port 80, right? So that is the reason why you can also check directly with the port here also. Like you can give port 80, because this is using a bridge network, right? Port 80. So this is the reason why you can see the old the Docker volume that was available before that, but container is new, because this container is just now we created newly. But then the context of the, or maybe data of the Docker volumes use the existing old Docker volumes. That is how it works. Is it clear? Okay. Okay, now that's the thing. Now if you want to remove it again, if you want to remove, there is a things you can remove it. Basically remove in the sense, if you remove the Docker volume, then your container cannot access it. that you have to know this thing. So let's say if I want to remove the Docker volumes, so as I told you, you can always go through the where is that? Okay, here you can always try using the Docker volume, or there is an option, right, to check the basically commands to understand what command I can run. Let's say if I want to remove it, you can use RM. So what we can do is you can use Azure, sorry, not Azure, Docker volume RM. I can remove it. What particular volume name? Let's say this particular volume name is my data something, right? Oh, let's see. Maybe let me copy. I don't remember the container name. I mean volume name. I think volume name I given as this data, this one, right? Let me copy this one. So this time this will be removed. What they are saying is, if you try to remove it, it is saying the error response from the one remove by this volume is in use. This is in use now. So how this is why you have to check this particular data volume is used now. So if you want to check, you can check Docker volume inspect. As I told you, you can check details. Now, if you type, let me just clear the screen. Now you can see that this is the location that we have mounted this thing. So this particular volume is at use. How can you know that is a use? Because when try to do also you can see. Otherwise, if you go to particular container using the inspect, you can check there also. So anyway, I want to remove it. So in order to remove it, or maybe we can go with the dash servicing option also. Let's see if that works. Fine. Otherwise, we need to stop the container first. Still we can, because this is used in use, right? We cannot delete if it is running. So what we can do is, instead of the force policy it's not working, we can directly stop the container first. Docker stop. First I need to check the container name. This is a container name, it is running, that is the thing. Let me stop the container. Docker stop. Then let me, now it is stop. Now if I try to remove the container, sorry, if you want to delete the volume, you can do so. Still I don't know, there is other volume maybe using. Let me check. Okay, why is still not coming? Let's see. If you see here, maybe one reason why it's still showing in use, because this particular showing still, it is stop only, right? It is still not remove, it is still use it, right? So if you stop also, still the container volume will be, sorry, Docker volume will be used in use. This is why it is showing still in use. So what we can do is we can remove the container itself. Otherwise remove fully if you don't need to. If you see the Docker volume arguments, right? Let me show you. Let me type otherwise. Docker volume. If you see here, if you can create, you can prompts, you can do a prompt also if you want to basically remove it unused one, right? So in my case, what we can do is we can stop the volume Docker container itself. It is stopped already, we have to remove it. So we can use a Docker container. If you remember before, Docker container, I can use a prompts. That is all unused, that means including stop one. This is only the container related things. Okay, I can use this thing. Then yes, I can type. Now your container, if you see Docker ps dot a, also you will not see any container running because we have deleted the container that is stop also. Now if you try to remove the Docker volumes, then we can directly use just like this Docker volume rm and then name of the Docker volume. Let me type. As you can see here, the volumes get deleted now. Now if you type the Docker volume again, ls this, now you cannot see the volume that you deleted, I mean that you created, because we have deleted that. Okay, that's how we have to this thing play around. Just as I mentioned, there's a commands given, every single steps, go through, understand one by one every single things, you would understand things like that. And yeah, maybe yeah, that's all for today, team. Maybe we will connect next week. Thank you once again for joining us. Have a nice weekend.